right, good morning, Dr. Poppy, Dr. J. General reflection here, video number 1 for Port 4, Spencer Woller. First question, 3 most important things I've learned about teaching and student learning throughout the process. Big thing right away, teaching involves so much more than just planning a lesson and hitting play. You're constantly forced to manage student behaviors, absences, or the need to help students make up assignments, fill them in on what they missed, and collaborating with other teachers in the department. So there's so much more than just teaching the lessons. Second, learned so much about how student learning is determined by their intrinsic motivation. Some students don't need to be inspired by their teachers, but other students aren't going to do their work unless we push them and try to inspire them. And then finally, directions are so important in middle school. Students are so quick to jump ahead and not read directions. So I learned how important it is for students to be successful in their learning, that I really need to give them clear directions. Second, something that surprised me during my student teaching experience, I was very surprised that Webster Middle School does not have any sort of late policy for their homework. Students can turn in their work 5-6 weeks late and face no retribution for it, which is baffling to me because it doesn't teach responsibility. And then second, the high school has a no tolerance policy for late work. So students get 0 at the high school. There's no easing them into the process, which really surprises me. Third, the 2 difficult realities at student teaching. And what did I learn from them? First, the idea that some students in a normal classroom setting will have severe disabilities that can distract the class. I had a 6th grader who incessantly blurted out in class. The counselors and admin said to allow him to do that, just because it would distress him more if we told him to stop. So I learned sometimes that teachers' hands are tied and they have to assimilate to the wishes of the administration. Second, unfortunately, I learned just how cruel middle schoolers can be to each other. Far different from my middle school experience. I don't remember being bullied or anything crazy like that. But it was really sad to learn at our weekly meetings how students that were great in the classroom for me would be doing crazy things outside of the classroom. When I start teaching, I'm going to try to apply this by treating all of my students fairly, despite what they may have done, and just like Jesus would, because we're all sinners and fall short of the glory of God, as Romans says. Fourth, was your student teaching experience easier or harder than expected, and why? I found third quarter to be rather easy. Brandon and I had a great relationship. I was passionate about the content I was teaching in social studies, and I only had to plan 1 lesson. When I transitioned over to German 4th quarter, it was a little harder. I wasn't as passionate about the content I was teaching, and I had to plan 6th, 7th, and 8th grade German, which is a lot to do, especially when you're not as passionate about the material. And furthermore, I had far more behavioral issues in German class, as aforementioned, with 6th grader especially, than other groups of students that were troublesome, which at times made it challenging to effectively teach my class. Fifth, reflecting on Standard 11, Christian Servant Leadership. I thought there were many times at Webster that I just tried to treat my students like Jesus would. I tried to allude to the golden rule when students weren't being kind to each other. I try to model empathy and kindness to them like Jesus would, and then try to serve my students intentionally by really trying to learn about their lives, what they're passionate about, what they enjoy doing in their time off, hobbies, etc. Sixth, was I best prepared for? I was very prepared for balancing a busy schedule. ROTCs really helped me with that, especially because ROTC is time demanding in itself, so I really had to learn how to adjust to everything else. So when it came to planning classes and everything, wasn't too stressed because I understood time management pretty well. I was not prepared, though, for the lack of motivation by my students. I've always been very motivated and inspired to do well in school and work hard, but it was challenging to see students who didn't value their education, and I had to learn at times how to motivate them, because you should be able to do this by yourself, but not every person has the same kind of intrinsic motivation. And the final question, advice for a student teacher going into fall 21. I would say try to have an idea of what you want to teach for a whole calendar week, Monday through Friday, before you go into the week. You don't need to know exactly what every minute of the week is going to look like, but if you have an outline for every week, it alleviates a lot of stress because you know what's going on. You seem prepared in the eyes of your cooperating teacher because you have a plan. And then you could tell your students what to expect. Maybe a PowerPoint slide at the start of class saying, hey, here's what this whole week looks like. Students really appreciate that, and I found it to be a great asset to my teaching. So appreciate you listening to my general reflection, video number 1, and have a good day.